The Democrat Party is in full-blown freefall. This weekend, they were caught on camera being absolutely humiliated. This is a party that proved they believe they're above the law, acting as if they can just play God to cling to power. The attacks on Charlie Kirk's family, President Trump, and Stephen Miller weren't just tasteless. They were a bone-chilling reminder of how far the activist left has wandered from decency, common sense, and reason. Even CNN couldn't turn away. They were forced to highlight a new poll showing the Democrats' narrative on the government shutdown is collapsing under the weight of reality. Even Bernie Sanders got roasted on daytime television, The View of all places, which is proof even the left can't escape reality. As always, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel so you never miss the day's top headlines. Now the left, they're bragging that their No Kings protest was a major success, which is cute considering it looked more like a community theater dress rehearsal that nobody bought tickets for. However, our No Kings protest back in 2024 was a massive success. It was bigger, it was prouder, and unapologetically patriotic, a celebration of God, common sense, and country. But on the left, the people on the other side of those barricades, they couldn't even explain what they were protesting this weekend. Asking them to define king, and you just get blank stares. I mean, how could we expect a group of people who don't know the difference between a man and a woman to know the difference between a king and a president? Well, the problem is when your activists can't name a single concrete grievance against the president, maybe the problem isn't the president, it's the protest.
Is there any decision in particular you disagree with?
Okay, so I would start with, well, I don't even think it's appropriate for me to have this interview.
Trump's a
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know. We don't like him. That's the word around here.
Any particular reason why you don't like him?
No clue at all. I'm just going with everybody else saying.
What illegal things has he done?
Every single thing since he's gotten into office.
So deporting illegal immigrants, is that illegal?
Deporting illegal immigrants, if they're here peacefully, yes.
Any other issues, any issues in particular that you really disagree with Trump on?
No, because you're just baiting me. Have a nice day.
This is what happens when politics becomes performance art. People grab their signs, they strike their poses, and then they repeat these slogans that they don't even understand. It's theater, not thought. Now worse, the rhetoric on display crossed a moral line, from cheap insults to menacing talk that should never be normalized in public life. Not only are the facts not on the left side, but they proved this weekend that they are the party of racism. Check this out. A protester actually held a sign about Virginia's GOP candidate for governor, saying that if she won't allow biological males in girls' locker rooms, then she shouldn't be allowed to drink from public water fountains. Let that sink in. That is blatantly racist and morally bankrupt, and every American, regardless of your party, you should condemn that without hesitation. Protecting our young girls' privacy and ensuring they have a safe place to change, that's not segregation. It's basic decency and safety 101. Anyone who can't tell the difference needs less time holding protest signs and a little more time cracking open a history book or maybe even a science book for that matter. Now, speaking of people who need a civics lesson, Kamala's husband, Doug Emhoff, actually hit the streets in Santa Monica for the No Kings protest. The irony is almost too perfect. His wife was handpicked by Democrat elites, parachuted into the race without a single vote from the people, and then tried to boot her own opponent off the ballot in 13 states. So Doug's out there chanting No Kings while his wife is busy acting like a queen. I guess irony isn't part of the curriculum in the second gentleman's household. Now things somehow managed to go downhill from there. Hard to imagine, I know. But never underestimate the Democrats when it comes to chaos and violence. It is the one area where they consistently overachieve. This woman actually held up a sign asking which heals faster, Trump's ear or Erica's heart. Think about that. The only moral test here was very simple. Be against political violence, that's it. And the left still managed to fail it spectacularly. See, what I found even more appalling though, was the open celebration of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. This wasn't just a fringe tweet or a lone voice online. This was organized, cheered, and justified by people who claim to stand for tolerance. I want to warn you, what you're about to see, it's disturbing, but it matters because every level-headed Democrat and independent deserves to see exactly what their party is tolerating and in some cases, encouraging. Watch this.
People on the other side are going to say that they feel like the Democrat Party has been mean. Recently, with Charlie Kirk being assassinated,
Charlie Kirk is a piece of garbage. Of course we were mean. I am so tired of people saying, oh, but, it's a terrible thing. No, Hitler is dead. I'm glad Hitler's dead. Evil people have no place in my world.
These are the same people who tell us that tweets hurt their feelings. I mean, you can call somebody names. Unfortunately, that's politics. But you don't get to advocate for murder. That distinction matters, and the left, they keep blurring that line. These lunatics actually set up a booth with a sign that reads, "Charlie Kirk had it coming, change my mind." This isn't protest. It's disgusting and it's propaganda. And it exposes the left's true colors. They don't debate ideas. They cancel, silence, and they threaten anyone who dare disagree. And they've actually convinced themselves, too, that they have the moral authority to decide who deserves to live and who doesn't. But sure, tell me again how Trump's the tyrant. Meet this elementary school teacher from Chicago, holding a Mexican flag while mocking the assassination of Charlie Kirk at the No Kings protest. This isn't political expression. It's moral corruption on public display. She should be fired immediately and never allowed near children ever again. Parents, they deserve better. Over the weekend, conservatives, they identified this teacher on social media and called for her immediate removal. The school's response? They talked with her and claimed the matter has been addressed, but she's still on the payroll. Every parent should demand accountability and remove your child from that classroom immediately. I mean, at this point, I'm starting to think there aren't enough therapists in the country to reach these folks on the left. Protesters, they weren't whispering. They were calling for violence against the president and even targeting Stephen Miller.
8647, explain it to me. I like the colors.
Kill the son of a
Kill who?
Wow, this 47th president.
Really? What's your name?
Dick Saber.
Glad we got that on camera. You know that's illegal, right? You don't threaten the president. You don't threaten anybody. But that's the problem with your guys' side. You guys get so emotional, you feel you need to threaten people. But don't worry, we're spreading love, and we're going to fix it.
You guys.
We appreciate you. God bless. God bless you.
And James Comey wanted you to believe his seashells post was absolutely harmless. I mean, these calls are growing more and more concerning, especially after Secret Service just discovered a hunting stand. It had clear line of sight of the president deplaning Air Force One in Palm Beach, Florida.
Their security sweep discovered this hunting stand. The director was, Kash Patel, was directly involved right away. I'm on the email chain with him. He ordered an immediate response. I believe we had our plane flown down there. This hunting stand was appropriately dismantled, it's being flown to our lab. I believe it's there right now. And all of the forensic tools we have, from digital tools to biometric tools, they are all going to be applied to try to find out who put this up there and why.
There is a full-blown war that is being waged against our president, yet the left acts as if they have the right to target the man overwhelmingly elected by the American people, all to intimidate Republicans and reclaim power. And speaking of rallying the troops, here's Robert De Niro delivering his dangerous message to liberal viewers on MSNBC over the weekend. Watch this.
Stephen Miller, he's a Nazi. Yes, he is. And he's Jewish, and he should be ashamed of himself.
Why major networks give airtime to somebody who spreads hate so openly is beyond me. But the real danger isn't just what he says, it's how it influences others. Let's look at the fallout from the No Kings protest.
Who are you gonna kill?
Nazis.
Who do you define as a Nazi?
What do you mean? It's pretty...
In this context, who's a Nazi?
Stephen Miller's a Nazi.
So you're gonna kill Stephen Miller?
If I had a chance, yeah, I would.
I don't know if that's something I'd say on camera, bro.
For a birthday present, what do you hope happens? You know, you wake up tomorrow morning.
I hope that I see the obituary that we're all waiting for tomorrow. That's what I hope for.
Yeah.
If you celebrate that, you shouldn't be surprised when respect and voters walk away. I mean, Democrats are out on the streets calling for the end of their political opponents, and then they act shocked when their approval numbers absolutely tank. Hypocrisy has a cost, and this is it. Here's the president reacting to what took place over the weekend.
I think it's a joke. I looked at the people. They're not representative of this country. And I looked at all the brand new signs paid for, I guess it was paid for by Soros and other radical left lunatics. It looks like it was. We're checking it out. The demonstrations were very small, very ineffective, and the people were whacked out. When you look at those people, those are not representative of the people of our country.
Mr. President, besides San Francisco...
And by the way, I'm not a king. I'm not a king. I work my ass off to make our country great. That's all it is. I'm not a king at all.
If President Trump were a king, he'd have inherited the White House like royalty instead of actually winning it the old-fashioned way with votes. Speaker Mike Johnson, he nailed the irony.
They called it the No Kings Rally. But the great irony, of course, that we pointed out over and over was if President Trump was a king, the government would be open. If President Trump was a king, he would have closed the national parks and the National Mall, so they couldn't have had the rally out here. By the way, that's what President Obama did during the shutdown in 2013, closed all the parks and the National Mall. Here in Washington, you had Senators Bernie Sanders and Chris Murphy and Cory Booker and others marching in the streets. Now, these are the same senators who voted over and over to shut down the legislative branch and hand the reins to President Trump. They're decrying the situation that they themselves created.
Okay, so if Democrats want to talk about no kings, let's talk about it. Because it was the Democrats who illegally surveilled Trump's campaign and orchestrated the Russia hoax just to stay in power. It was the Democrats who openly ignored Supreme Court rulings.
I believe that the Biden administration should ignore this ruling.
So you're saying the Biden administration should ignore this court, but what does that look like? What does that actually mean?
You know, I think the interesting thing when it comes to a ruling is that it relies on enforcement. And it is up to the Biden administration to choose whether or not to enforce such a ruling.
Tens of millions of people's debt was literally about to get canceled. But then some of my Republican friends and elected officials and special interests sued us, and the Supreme Court blocked us. But that didn't stop us. No, I mean it sincerely. We continue to find alternatives passed to reduce student debt payments.
For anyone who needed a refresher, it was the left who tried to force Americans to pay off other people's debt. It was also the Democrats who censored the press and social media, basically banning President Trump from platforms simply because they didn't like him. Sounds like authoritarianism to me. Then there was Biden's FBI, who went after parents raising concerns at school board meetings. And the one that baffles me the most, pro-life grandparents arrested for singing peacefully in abortion clinics.
That seeks thy face, O God of Jacob.
21 pro-lifers were jailed under Biden. Meanwhile, Democrats locked down cities and schools far beyond what the science justified, forcing shots on anyone wanting to participate in society. My own newsroom at the time, we barred employees from entering unless vaccinated. One reporter was even forced to quit for refusing. Where was the my body, my choice then? And in California, my lovely state of California, Governor Gavin Newsom, he apparently thought it was his job to dictate whether we could use a restroom or sing with our families, basically, during the holidays. This is not a joke. Watch this.
Now, you can go inside to use a bathroom as long as that bathroom is frequently sanitized. You can only gather for a maximum of 2 hours. That's one of the other restrictions. Singing is discouraged, but if you must sing, you must wear a mask and sing below a standard speaking voice.
Gavin Newsom sounds more like a king to me than anybody else. I mean, it wasn't Republicans who were dining in fancy restaurants while telling the rest of America to stay home. And let's not forget crazy Queen Nancy Pelosi getting her hair done while the rest of us were banned from salons. Somehow that must have slipped her memory the other day, because on No King's Day, she celebrated by snapping a crown in half. Honestly, why is every single one of their stunts so painfully cringy? Watch this.
I'm gonna tear up the crown.
Maybe somebody should remind Queen Nancy she was Speaker of the House for 20 years. There's also the Democrats who covered for a cognitively impaired president for 4 years and then quietly swapped out the president in the dead of the night. But according to Robert De Niro, the real problem is the Republicans, apparently because we're not willing to drink the Kool-Aid.
They're used to seeing Trump do his stuff, and they talk and they listen, and that's the truth to them because they don't listen to anything else. It's somewhere way out in the Midwest, somewhere out in the out west, in certain places, the rural places. That's the truth because he gets the airtime. And I think that we need more airtime, just more push against and not. I wish that you can't do this in some ways, but that the news media could find ways to kind of ignore or tamp down nonsense from Trump. It's just total nonsense. But those people out there listen to it and assume if it can be on the air and it's out there, it's the truth.
The only ones swallowing this nonsense? The Democrats. Even CNN had to throw them a reality check. Trump, he's not taking the fall for Schumer's shutdown. Watch this.
In 2018/2019, Donald Trump's net approval rating was already falling. The shutdown was eating into his popular support. It was down 3 points already at this particular point and would fall considerably more. It was very much on the decline. You come over to this side of the screen, this shutdown hasn't eaten into Donald Trump's support at all. His net approval rating is actually up a point in terms of his popular support.
The data is crystal clear. Trump doesn't need to blink. Republicans have the leverage, and the American people know exactly who is throwing the temper tantrum and holding the country hostage. Spoiler alert, it's not the party with the elephant.
It comes down to the blame game, a game I loved to play when I was younger. Blame Trump for the shutdown, a great deal. In 2018/2019, 61%, more than 3 in 5 Americans blame Trump a great deal for that particular shutdown. You come over to this side of the screen, look at this. It's a different world. It's a different world. 48% of Americans blame Trump a great deal for this particular shutdown. So it's more than 3 in 5 back in 2018/2019. It's less than half, a drop of 13 points. Again, it's no real wonder that Donald Trump at this point, looking at the shutdown, says, you know what, it's not actually harming me politically, in large part because he's getting less of the blame.
Oh, Chuck Schumer is seething right now. I'm sure the smoke is just billowing out of his ears because this is not what he hoped for. Another Democrat stunt crashes and burns, proving once again that political chaos is their specialty. And you know it's bad when The View has to eat their own.
Be powerful, though, is if Congress didn't take their money while they were waiting. Because right now, it's hard to imagine it's incentivized. It's easier for the politicians in D.C. to go away from each other and say, we will win this way, while people are losing their paychecks. If Congress just said, we're not going to take our paychecks till we figure this out, that would be a noble step in the right direction, I would say.
That's not everybody can afford to do. You got some young people there with kids there.
Either can the people that aren't getting paid, though,
I think
and
that's
there's a holdout.
Bernie Sanders, by the way, he owns 3 homes, so I think he can forgo a couple of paychecks for the sake of serving the American people. And it's worth noting that Hakeem Jeffries made it very clear that this is not about healthcare, but rather fighting Donald Trump. Watch him reject the olive branch offered by Leader Thune.
Senator Thune is offering there is to have a vote on a Democratic or bipartisan plan to extend those subsidies so people's premiums don't go up, as they will now dramatically in January, if the Democrats simply agree to vote to have that temporary funding extension. Is that something you would be willing to agree with? You get your vote on health care, but you also reopen the government.
I think what we've said is that we will not support a partisan Republican spending bill, which is the bill that they continue to bring before the Senate and that emerged from the House, if that bill guts the health care of the American people.
This shutdown isn't about Americans or their health care. It's about Democrats with no solutions, playing political games while your livelihoods hang in the balance. And let's be honest, the only way to motivate some of these lawmakers who clearly forgot who they work for is to hold their paychecks hostage until they do their jobs. Now up next, John Bolton makes a shocking admission and says he does deserve to be locked up. Plus, Letitia James steps in front of cameras looking absolutely defeated by her indictment. Wait until you see the condition she's in and the words she mutters into the mic. Go ahead, click on that video you see now on your screen, and I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day.